The bad news about the American economy recently has also been bad news for John McCain's presidential bid. And now, on the heels of the $700 billion rescue plan he supported, McCain may find himself with a new vulnerability on the subject on his right flank. How did he get here? Well, back in the days of somewhat straight talk from the senator, McCain freely and repeatedly announced his lack of understanding about the economy. He told the Wall Street Journal editorial board in 2005, quote, "I'm going to be honest. I know a lot less about economics than I do about military and foreign policy issues. I still need to be educated." This past December on the campaign trail, he said, quote, "The issue of economics is not something I've understood as well as I should. I've got Greenspan's book." Even more recently, as the economy's been swirling round the toilet, he's let the sad truth be known about his economic understanding in other ways.
Now, I am not an expert on Wall Street. I am not an expert on some of this stuff.
I don't believe we're headed into a recession. I believe the fundamentals of this economy are strong, and I believe they will remain strong.
But I want to convince you of my belief and my firm conviction that America's economy, the fundamentals of it are strong.
Our economy, I think, still, the fundamentals of our economy are strong.
That last insight came 18 days ago and may have marked moment zero of McCain's political downfall surrounding this issue. The initial response from the McCain campaign to their political troubles about the economy was to attack Barack Obama for having caused the financial crisis somehow, trying to link Obama to troubled mortgage institutions Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae. That sort of blew up in the McCain campaign's face because of continuing revelations about John McCain's campaign manager having been on the payroll of Freddie Mac, not to mention his Senate chief of staff. Now, the McCain campaign's stance on the economy has descended into frank incoherence. McCain's running mate Sarah Palin is not helping.
But ultimately, what the bailout does is help those who are concerned about the health care reform that is needed to help shore up our economy, it's got to be all about job creation, too, shoring up our economy and putting it back on the right track. So health care reform and reducing taxes and reining in spending has got to accompany tax reductions.
Logically, reducing taxes does have to accompany tax reductions for the health care reform job bailout thing. Senator McCain's written response to today's horrendous jobs report honestly made just as little sense as that statement from Sarah Palin. The statement reacting to news that the economy lost another 159,000 jobs last month said this, quote, "I will reverse out-of-control spending, end the wasteful and corrupting practice of earmarks, and get the government budget back to balance." Earmarks and spending are causing unemployment? Really? And McCain's going to balance the budget? Is that before or after the extra trillions he's planning in red ink with tax cuts and... If you want incoherence, how about McCain voting for the bailout bill, then suggesting the next day that it should be vetoed by the president? A majority of House Republicans today still voted against the bailout bill, effectively voting against John McCain on this issue. Out of this mess and morass that John McCain is in on the economy, will the most important political outcome of all this be a revolt against him from the right within his own party? Joining us now is one of the House Republicans who voted against the bailout bill. He is Representative Steve King of Iowa. Congressman King, we're really happy to have you on the show tonight. Thank you for joining us.
Well, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
President Bush and John McCain and your party leader in the House, John Boehner, all called on you and other House Republicans to vote yes on this bailout bill. Why did you vote no?
My convictions are on the side of free markets. It's $700 billion. It looks to me like it's a leveraged buyout of toxic debt off of Wall Street that's engineered by Henry Paulson. And I don't have the confidence in Paulson that he can spend our taxpayer dollars and turn it into a profit for the government. It is a nationalization of some of that debt. And this is the Rubicon for which we might cross. Once we go this far and start buying up this toxic debt, now we've taken the stand that will put us in a position where we can't say no to any business that's too big to be allowed to fail. That's where I draw the line, and that's where most of my Republican colleagues drew the line today.
Did Senator McCain try to get you to switch your vote?
No, I didn't hear from him. I didn't hear from his lobbying or his whip team. But then I took a pretty strong stand early, and people know that I'm not one of those negotiable votes when you get down to the end, so they don't work me very hard. There is lower fruit to be harvested when it comes time to get those votes.
When you campaign this fall, do you expect to campaign in part on your vote against the bailout?
Well, the message is out across everywhere, and people are talking about it in the streets. So, yes, I will stand on this vote. I'm one of those members, one of 11 that voted no on the Katrina funding, the $51.8 billion to Katrina. That was the best vote I put up in Congress in 6 years. This vote is also a good vote. It's a free enterprise vote, and it's a fiscal responsibility vote. And I've introduced a bill today that is all the pieces that I was seeking to get negotiated into this bill to get a vote on. It's a private sector solution. And it suspends capital gains taxes on rescue capital that would replace the taxpayer dollars, and also capital gains on the $12 trillion that potentially could be attracted back to the United States. That's U.S. capital in foreign investments. Those are two big things. And also the reform for the Community Reinvestment Act and Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. We've done nothing in this legislation to reform the underlying problem. I think that's irresponsible, and I think that we won't see the political climate again that would have let us do that. So that's another reason to be a no, Rachel.
Even though you come from a completely different place in the political spectrum as somebody like Dennis Kucinich, when I spoke with him about his no vote on this bill, he said a lot of the same things. I will say, though, that in terms of the political import of this bill, not just the policy import, but the political import, it seems from the outside like the Republican Party has a very deep division on this issue. And I'm struck by the fact that the RNC is planning a multi-million-dollar ad buy for an ad that attacks Barack Obama for supporting the bailout. That is effectively an ad against John McCain. Do you think that they're hoping that no one will know that there is a divide in the Republican Party and that McCain supported it too?
Well, there is a divide in the Republican Party. There's a divide among the Democrats, too. But what I saw happen on the floor on Monday was the defeat of leadership on both sides of the aisle in the White House and the Senate leadership when we voted the bill down on Monday. That is a phenomenal thing to see Democrats and Republicans come together. Steve King and Dennis Kucinich vote together on something like that. And I could write the ads for Democrats or Republicans for or against, Rachel.
I'm sorry to interrupt. I do think we should be clear, though, that a majority of Republicans in the House voted against their leadership. A majority of Democrats voted with their leadership, even though there is this dissent. And I guess I just want to know if John McCain's going to be vulnerable here from essentially you're going to be campaigning against him every time you go out on the stump in Iowa this fall.
Well, I'm going to stand on fiscal responsibility. I don't want to campaign against John McCain. I see big differences there, and I could give you that commercial, but it's going to be hard for the Democrats to attack John McCain for this position when their presidential candidate Obama has taken the same position. So I think the same problems there exist on either side of this argument, but today the American people were opposed to the bailout. They got a bailout anyway. We'll see how these markets turn. I mean, it could be a huge shift one way or the other between now and the 4th of November. I don't think anybody knows, but I can tell you there are very many nervous legislators, those that voted yes and those that voted no. To me, I'm confident today and I'm comfortable with my vote. And I'm going to stand with John McCain for a lot of other reasons as well.
Congressman Steve King of Iowa, this is going to be fun to watch. Thanks for coming on the show. Have a good weekend.
Thank you, Rachel. Appreciate it.